You see, I'm putting it aside because you are writing a book. You are somewhere in a trance. It's a trance. So it is the melody that carries you. But then you do not care about the details. Here it's mainly always we think that we should explain more and more. Instead to take out, we are explaining all the time. Explanation is a very bad thing. Should not explain. Acts should speak. They are the best interpreter, the act. The moment you begin to explain, so you are in the company of Freud, you are in the company of Jung, Adler, all kind of very clever people, but you are not a writer. So it's important to leave it, the manuscript, 3-5 years, and then you take out all the clever things, all the clever explanation, act. The story has a melody, and you're going with the plot of the melody. Seltzer, pension, they are lost people. They are lost people. They are not with Jews, they are not with other people. They want to be Europeans, but the Europeans do not accept them. Yes. So, but I'm dealing mainly the pains of lost people. And I'm doing it in an existing potential form. Because you mentioned Maria, yes? In the book. She is an Ukrainian. She is rooted in nature. And she is rooted also in belief. There is a harmony between nature and belief. The rational element doesn't play a role by Maria. She is a woman rooted in nature. The inhabitants in pensions also, they are not rooted in nature, and they have lost belief. And I'm exploring their way of life. I'm looking always for small places, intimate places, when you can hear your ones, when you can hear the voice of other people. You see? I like to listen, yes. I'm not a judgmental writer. Yes, I'm not a judgmental writer. I want to understand people, so I'm writing about Jewish people. But I'm writing a lot about non-Jewish people. Yes. I've written a book about Katerina. She's a non-Jewish woman. Yes. They are prisoners of themselves because they, as I've said, they are Jewish. And they see themselves as Europeans. But the surrounding doesn't accept them as Europeans. In the eyes of the Ruthenians, they are Jewish. They are cursed because they are Jewishness. Yes. There are exceptional people like Maria, for instance, that they have some empathy with those people. She tries to understand them. She wants to help them. Yes.
She's fond of them.
Yeah, and she's fond of them, of course. Yes, she's fond of them. What actually, she is not a political person. She is not a social leader. She's Rita. And she wants to escape this place because she's surrounded by lost people. And she has a fantasy, of course, a fantasy that in Palestine there is a lot of sand, a lot of sun, and the sun and the sand will cure her. It's of course an illusion. So she's not looking for a new homeland in Palestine. You see, it became an existential necessity. I came until 9. German was my mother language. And then Ukrainian and Russian became my language. Yiddish became my language. But I have never attended just my first grade in the school. And it was not even in German, it was in Romanian language because it became part of Romania. So I came to Israel. I was close to 14 years old with no language, actually. I spoke words from different language, but I could not formulate a sentence. I could say yes, no, I understand, I do not understand, but not a language, because I've lost my German too. Yes. Yes. It's only later, when I was working in a kibbutz, and I've learned Hebrew because I wanted to understand the people I was surrounded by them. I want to understand their language, so I learned Hebrew. And the question was how to adapt my experience during the war with the Hebrew language. And it was, I felt that Hebrew fits it very well to my experience. Because Hebrew is a very laconic language. You see. It has between the sentences, even in the sentence, there is a lot of silence. It's a lot of silence. We cannot and we should not talk about everything. We should not portray everything. There are things that we should keep it in silence with us. Because in the 19th century, there was a belief that somewhere a writer is an unusual man. He knows everything about human beings. Yes, we know. He doesn't know everything about human beings. He even doesn't understand himself. So, yes, from one side, from the other side, European language, especially German, they have the long language, the Thomas Mann language, sentence that is a page. It's not a line, it's a page. I'm in a lot of description, important and unimportant. The Hebrew language is saying it's only right about the essential, not about everything. It's just what we need. It's my childhood, because you see, childhood is facing the world with a fresh eye, with a fresh ear, with a fresh taste. You see, in your childhood you see things that you will never see them. Because you rationalize, you read a lot, you see a lot, and so on. It doesn't make you clever, but the senses of a child, this is somewhere from the existential point, and not only from the existential, it is something that nourishes you all the years. You see, the hand of your mother, grandfather, animals you have met during these years that became your friends. So this is use is more important. Use from my home, that was until 8.5 years old, when I was being taken into a ghetto and then into a concentration camp. And when I was released by the Russian army, actually I was for 2.5 years with a gang of criminals. They adopted me in the forest, and I was with them. So this was another school for me. See?
In Italy?
No, not before. In Ukraine. I was with a gang of Ukrainians, not Jewish people. They don't knew that I'm Jewish because I was blonde with blue eyes. So it's again, it was because I was a child. I was not corrupted by them, you see, by these gangsters. In Israel, it is a peculiar Jewish history. Yes. Because in Israeli, when I came to Israel in 1946, there was a tendency, an ideological tendency, to change the character of the Jews. And I have not any education. I felt that I do not want to change my character. I want to be like my parents, who were educated, assimilated Jews, and like my grandparents, who were religious Jews. I want to be like my parents. I want to be like my grandparents. I don't want to change my character. And of course, this was a struggle. It was a struggle because in the 40s, in the 50s, Israel was a very ideological society. A heroic society, ideological society. And I wanted not to change my character. I wanted to be exactly like my parents and my grandparents, who are different, because my parents were assimilated, rational Jews, educated very much in the European ways, Latin, and university. My grandparents were just believers. Yes. And I liked them both, and I still like them both.